Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about the NFL draft prospect coming out of Oregon, Brandon Dorlus, as always, Mr. Football. Vincent Turner, how you doing, Vincent?
Hey, how you doing today, Mr. Logan Landers?
I am doing great today, sir. Excited to talk about this prospect coming out of Oregon out there with the Ducks. But before we get into it, we talk about how this young man has been doing some great work out there in Oregon, as well as what we think he could do, how well he could be at the next level. Sure to give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on our social media channels, being Facebook and YouTube, of course. And go check out our podcast, which is available each and every single week. Vincent, let's get into it. Talk about Brandon Dorlus, what the young man has been doing at Oregon, and how we think he can do at the next level. Well, when you look at him, he's 6'3", 272 pounds, as I mentioned earlier, is coming out of Oregon University, where he's been there, been doing some work there, Vincent, since 2019. He's played a lot of football, and I'm excited to see how this young man will do at the next level. This past year in 2023, he racked up 25 tackles, had 7 passes defended as well, and 5 sacks, both of those being career highs on the year for him. So he chose to peak at the correct time. We do talk about some guys who have some really good careers early on, but this guy waited till his final season, his senior season, to really put in some work and really have his name and his likeness shoot up the draft boards. Now, when you look at his ability and his style of play, coming out of Oregon, was a solid player. He's got some great athletic just build to him. As I mentioned, all those passes defended, that's coming at the defensive line position, Vincent. That's coming as a defensive end with all those passes defended. That's a big guy too. And I know that you always like to go into the weight room stats. Well, I got some here for you, man. 685-pound back squat. Also a 685-pound sumo deadlift.
Woo!
And the piece de resistance, a 345-pound power clean. This guy is an absolute freak. You're not going to outwork him in the gym, I don't think, even for those guys in the NFL.
Well, they had a song, I remember we always talk about on this band Midnight Star that's out of Cincinnati, Ohio. They had a song, Freakazoid. Definitely, he makes the table of contents. You look up his name, it's a Freakazoid, Midnight Star. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You ain't kidding. If you look that up in the dictionary right now, you're going to see a photo, the one we got on the screen of this guy.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and that athleticism, it moves into just how explosive he is, coming off the ball, getting to the quarterback, getting to the running back. He's got obviously raw power on the field, but he's that rare combination, Vince, that you don't see a whole lot of guys who were strong and athletic. He's got both of those. He checks both of those boxes. He's a great presence with his hands, as I mentioned. He's not afraid. He's not just going to go and just get to the quarterback and have ball sail over his head. No, as I mentioned, he's got those passes defended too. He's going to jump and get to the ball. He's got that high motor as well. And he's just a disruptor, man. I think that Brandon Dorlus is a guy who's definitely someone to watch out for, because this is a guy who could sneak up on some teams. And if people are just not looking at him, I don't know what is going on, but this is a guy who needs to be on your draft board if you're in need of a defensive end or a defensive lineman in this upcoming draft. What's your thoughts on Brandon Dorlus, Mr. Turner?
I'm trying to figure out Mr. Dorlus is a guy that's out of Deer Beach Field, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Deerfield Beach, Florida. Let me get the pronunciation right. And out of Deerfield, you got Jerry Jeudy, that's from that area. Denard Robinson, the outstanding quarterback that played in Michigan, and Devin Singletary, who's now running back with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm trying to figure out, he went way out there to Oregon, right? Quite the Oregon Ducks. And Dan Lanning had him for 2 years and really turned him into a very outstanding NFL draft prospect. How does he get out of the state of Florida? Central Florida, South Florida, the U, Florida State, in the Gators. It just amazes me, because some schools recruit that area very, very heavy. Then when you look at him, man, this is a guy, he's going to be an outstanding pass rusher at the next level. Natural pass rusher. As you just mentioned, Logan, what do he have, 14 pass defense? That means he's batting the ball down at the line of scrimmage.
Yes, sir.
12 sacks, as you just mentioned, Logan, and 27 tackles for losses. That guy, once he's getting on the line of scrimmage, he putting in some work. Quickness, off the change, A+. High character guy. If you go look at what some of his teammates said about him, he's the hardest working player on the football team at his time at Oregon. High football IQ. Reason I say this, Logan, man, you got to really know what you're doing to be able to bat down passes when you entangle with all those D linemen in the trenches. Then the motor on this guy. High motor with no oil change for days, weeks, and months. He can go all day, man. He's coming every play. And it puts me in the mind when I think about all the great defensive ends that came into this league and rushed. I got to go back to the University of Tennessee back from 90 to 92 when they had Chuck Smith. You heard of him, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Former Atlanta Falcon could get after the passer. Todd Kelly, another Tennessee guy that was up there with Chuck Smith. Chris Mims, who's gone to glory out of California, there was another outstanding pass rusher, and Casey Rogers. All those guys had the same similar skill set as Mr. Dorlus. They got after the passer with a high mortar with no oil change for days. This gentleman right here is going to be a very good football player rushing the passer at the next level.
Yes, sir. My final words on Brandon Dorlus is a guy who he's got that high motor. He's probably going to be one of the stronger defensive linemen in the draft. And like you said, he put in some great work out there with Oregon. We saw just how well they did this past season. And I think that Brandon Dorlus obviously was a key factor in that. And I can't wait to see where this young man's going to go in the next level and what team's going to get his services and how well he's going to perform in the National Football League. Definitely someone to watch out for. If he's not on your draft board, you might want to make a new one because this guy needs to be on it. Mr. Turner, your final words.
Hey, man, I'm like you, man. I'm stamping Mr. Brandon Dorlus simply because he played for Mr. Dan Lanning. If he played for Dan Lanning, and we know his time with Dan Lanning when he was a defensive coordinator at the University of Georgia in his 2 years at Oregon, all you got to do is look in the NFL, man. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, N'Kobe Dean. Do I have to say anymore? Is that enough? Is that enough?
I think we get it, man.
Is that enough stamps to be stamped on?
I think it should be. It should be. You listed some great names there, Vincent. And man, I think that I think we could appropriately name him this, and I think you'll agree with me. I think Brandon Freakazoid Dorlus is going to be putting some work in the NFL. It's going to be a fun time seeing where this young man goes and how he produces. Well, as always, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, absolute pleasure, my friend, talking some sports with you, talking some draft prospects as we do each and every single week. Once again, I've been your host, producer, everyone, Logan Landers. If you enjoyed the video, one more time, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. And go check out our podcast as well on all major podcast streaming platforms. Until next week, we'll talk to you guys again on